Hey, I thought today we might have some fun drawing geckos and kind of learning about geckos. Geckos are a lizard. There's probably close to 1,000, believe it or not, different kind of geckos. They live in warm climates. And I've got some other facts that we'll talk about while we're drawing them. We're going to start out first with a small sketch in pencil, and that's called a thumbnail sketch. And what that does is that helps you sort of kind of get the idea of what you're drawing. I always like to draw things in pencil first if I have the time, and then I can sort of figure out what I kind of need to work on and kind of get it sort of an idea and make myself familiar with it if you have the time. And then we're going to move to, I always like to use white oil pastel on dark paper if you have that. If not, you can probably do the same thing in color crayons. If you look at some of our other videos, we've got a lot of different crayon techniques. But I thought today would be kind of fun to do it in oil pastel. So white oil pastel, my little tray to keep my oil pastels that I'm using in from rolling off the table and where they can get stepped on, which is never good for an oil pastel. So I'm Miss Therese. Welcome to Art with Miss Therese, and we'll get started. So we're going to start out with just kind of a basic gecko shape. Their heads are kind of, we're going to be looking at them from above. Not from the side, but from above, which I always try to like find other ways to look at animals. Lots of times I have a tendency to like just look like straight across, but it's kind of fun to sort of change the angle, and I think we're going to keep doing that in the next few videos. So they have sort of a triangular shaped head like that. And again, I'm sketching, so I'm going to be kind of, my lines are going to kind of be going over each other. They've got pretty good sized sort of bulgy eyes. What I learned about geckos is they don't have eyelids, and their tongue comes out and licks their eye to clean them. Isn't that interesting? So there's the neck, and then out from there, I'm going to sort of sketch their little arms, and they've got these funny little feet. And again, this is just a sketch here. There's got 5 toes. There's this like little elbow there, and again, like I say, I'm just sort of sketching. Going to come down to here, might have this one down here, and again 5 little fingers or toes. I guess I might call them fingers on their front, I'm not sure. Got to look that up, I didn't see that. And then here's his little body, like this, and back legs are a little bit bigger, and again with those 5 little toes back there. What I learned about geckos is, they really grip onto anything. They can grip onto ceilings. The only thing they have a hard time, now I'm running out of a little bit of room here, but that's okay because I can figure this out when I do my final one. And same with the tail, like that. What I found out about geckos, this is just going to kind of give me the basic shape. Just kind of learn that. What I found out is that when a predator like attacks them, their tail falls off, usually at sort of a specific place, and the tail keeps wiggling, which distracts the predator, which I think is like so cool. And so the gecko can run away, and then he or she can regrow the tail. And then their little feet have over 6 million teeny tiny hairs on each pad, and that helps keep the gecko sticking to things. The gecko can stick to anything except for wet Teflon. It can stick to dry Teflon, but not wet Teflon. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So that's kind of my basic shape. I'm just kind of messing around with this a little bit, and might make that body a little bit longer. What I love to do is when I'm doing something like this is I can kind of see the areas where I want to correct things. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. So if you don't have oil pastels, you can do this very same thing in color crayon on white paper if you'd like. If you do have oil pastels, the darker paper works just a little bit better. I was going to try to peel this guy. This is where I really miss my students because they're really good at peeling the oil pastel, way better than me. So I'm going to peel that, put my little scrap paper in my container there, and of course do my border or frame. Heel my hand down, helps me make a straight line. If you want to use a ruler, you can do that too. And again, I really like moving my paper around. Okay, and the other nice thing, it sets my brain up to work in the space. So maybe I'm gonna, now I drew my sketch gecko, he's kind of going off this direction. Maybe this one I might have him, just to challenge myself, have him kind of going off the other direction. So there is my little triangle shaped head and those sort of bulgy little eyes. I don't know if I mentioned this, but they can see light. They're more sensitive to light and color than we are by 350 times. So that if that, gosh, he's almost crawling off the page. So that if that little guy is out hunting at night, even in low levels of light, he can see, or she can see, color. So here we are. One, two, three, four, and that fifth one there. And I'll do the gecko body right there. Kind of looking at my sketch, I might make that body just a little bit longer. Legs in the back are a little bit larger than the ones in the front. And I have this guy's going to be sort of crawling into the page. So maybe you'll see just a little toe there. And I want to make sure that I can put that tail in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this little leg here. I can pretend that I'm looking up at the ceiling and he's holding on to the ceiling. Geckos are a little bit like chameleons. They can, see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to add another little one there. They can change color to their background. Oh, now here's an idea for planning in your picture. I've used up all this space here. I could have my tail go down there, but I think since I really want to have a little bit more tail, I'm going to curve that, which is going to give me a little bit longer tail. So there, I'm kind of using that space. By the way, this guy could be crawling down the wall. He could be crawling over this direction. It's kind of fun to have your picture be able to move all different ways. But anyway, they have little cells called, or proteins in their cells called opsins. And what those do is those are light sensitive. And of course, color is light. And, oh gosh, my dog's barking again. Color is light and, Sai. Color is light. And so they can actually match their background. They're very good at camouflaging themselves. There's even a gecko that looks like a leaf. And which I think is kind of interesting. Okay, what I'm doing here, I've done this before with oil pastels, I'm just layering my white down so that when I go to put my color, it's going to really pop. I've just layered in all my white, and I'm thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be kind of fun to kind of mix some colors here? And you could design your gecko any way you want. It could have spots, it could have stripes, it could have stripes and spots. They come in so many different designs, or you could kind of design your own. I saw one that kind of looked like this. So what I'm going to do is it had sort of a blue kind of stripe down the middle and partway down its tail. The stripe got a little bit wider in the middle, like that. And then it had some sort of oblong blue spots on either side of that, and then some spots down towards the end of the tail. So I've just kind of like layered that in. And I think it had a couple of spots on its head. So I'm going to go like that. We're going to do something fun with the eyes. And that gecko, and again, I'm using my little tray here to keep the oil pastels that I use ready to go so they don't roll off the table. Let's see, that is a nice kind of spring green. And this is one of the reasons I really like using white underneath. If I was to use this green without white underneath, it's kind of different. It's kind of not as bright, and it's a little bit harder to see. And so here, I'm going to just fill this in here. Move my paper around, and I'm just going to have fun putting my first layer in here. First layer. I think I'm going to work a little bit on the eyes there. And gecko eyes, the pupils in gecko's eyes are really interesting. They're kind of long. And let me see if I can find some black here. Oh, gosh, I found my black. So I'm going to do kind of a long pupil like that. Some of them, if you look at them, they're kind of zigzaggy. And again, I think that's so fascinating about, I'm going to have this guy again, I'm going to do that white in there because I'm going to have these guys have like some, I'm going to have them have orange eyes. I'm going to put that back there. Oh, let's see, I've got some orange here. What I think is so interesting, and again, they don't have any eyelids. And their tongue comes out and they lick their eyes to clean them. That's just fascinating. So I'm going to do a little bit of blending here. You know, the other thing is, we haven't done this, you can take an eraser, you know, from at the end of a pencil or a regular eraser, and if you want a little more ability to be a little bit sharper when you're doing your blending, you can just use that eraser. The only trick is when you are done, it's going to be kind of hard. You have to be careful that you don't use this for erasing for any other reason, because you might have some color still left on it. I'm going to add just a touch of white there to make those eyes look shiny. That's a little trick. Kind of go like that. Makes them, kind of gives them a little bit of light there. And I'm thinking I'm going to have around that eyeball be a little bit of color like that, just to kind of define that eye a little bit. Now there's some little extra oil pastels that are kind of hanging out there, so I'm going to get my brush out like that. But if you don't have a brush, you can always take a piece of paper and kind of move that around too. And I'm thinking maybe I might start defining the ends of those funny little gecko feet, those little feet that stick to everything. I think it's so fascinating that the reason they stick is millions of tiny hairs. I'm going to do that with this one here, same thing. Now if you're doing this with color crayon, you're going to probably be able to do a little more definition. If you're doing it with colored pencil, you can be a little bit more precise. That's the fun thing about working with different materials, is you can sort of figure out how far you can push them, what you can kind of do with them. And I'm going to add just a little green in these areas here, just to kind of add a little bit of shadow, like that. A little bit there. I might even kind of come in here and then start blending in again, just to, as my dad would say, just to kind of beef things up a little bit. And where was that green I was using? Sometimes I'm not very organized when I'm working. So if you want to just kind of keep adding your layers, and filling in. The nice thing about white is that it kind of makes that, whatever it is you're drawing, sort of glow a little bit. Now I'm thinking that that blue isn't quite as contrasty as I would like it. So I'm coming back in with another blue, like this. And wait till you see what we're going to do with that. And again, notice I do move my paper around quite a bit. That's just going to make it just a little more, in my mind, just a little bit more interesting. And then instead of using my finger, I'm going to come back in with that eraser. And make sure you put, if you're using a pencil like this with an eraser like this, put it in a special place. Warn your parents or your brothers or sisters in case they decide to use that pencil not to use the eraser, because they might get a little bit of a surprise with some color showing up unexpectedly. It's nice if you can keep your art supplies in a box. We did a video a while back on how to take care of your stuff. Really simple. Probably most of you guys already know how to do that anyway. I think I did that video mostly for the grown-ups that were worried. I hope you're encouraging your parents or aunts or uncles or anybody else to draw along with you. It's so much fun. And I think people always surprise themselves when they see what they can do. All right. I'm going to maybe put that there. Add a little bit of this to here. So that's pretty much my gecko done. And we could add a background to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to have some fun, do some leaves in the background, and we'll catch up when I'm done. Well, there's our gecko. I bet you yours looks absolutely beautiful. I'm going to maybe work on this a little bit more, and we'll catch up. Here's our gecko. I know I've got a lot of areas that I would like to improve next time, but it was kind of fun doing it. I hope you enjoyed it and learned some interesting facts about geckos. I found out one more thing about geckos. There's a couple of different kinds of geckos that actually have no legs, but they still can kind of stick to surfaces, and they almost look like a snake. But anyway, I look forward to seeing you next time, and we'll be drawing something else fun too. Take care.